OG, boy better know me. Beefing up with muscles that are mighty like a Broly. OP, force like Kenobi, I will never fall back. Tackle him so hard, he be looking like the All Black. Speed wagon cause I overdrive, breath dragging when he burns alive. Dio planning so my dog would die. Be like John Wick so you won't survive. Striking like Big Ben the bells and burn up like Kelvin. Vampire hunter Van Helsing, hammer the nails in fine intervention. Crash like a Zeppelin, there's no way to heaven. Used to be the same team, but we're not the same league. You know that your time is up right when you hear the main theme. Beating Dio before it became mainstream. Jojo, I created a legacy.
Oh my god, it's that Joestar ultimate deceiver. Cause ladies love me, I'm a real pleaser. Susie Q, my robot finger. All this hormone, I don't need a breather. Any game I play, I'm the best cheater. Too hot game, AC/DC fever. Enemy drop hard like a rock on Jesus. Rest in peace, I'm the Pillar's Reaper. Even Wambu sees that he's the weaker. What, you're still a non-believer? Your next line is, you're a mind reader. I'm taking Duel to the cleaners by running away. Now he runs in circles. Grab a TV, what's this commercial? Not tentacle porn, it's it's a purple.
Need a hand? Then I got you. Star Platinum leaves the marbles looking like a body tattoo. I don't have the time to argue. Why not look into my soul? Yes! Catch my sleight of hand. It's going straight into your dome. Death at your door is knocking. On your noggin when against my squadron. Got the upper hand, don't stay confident. Learn from Joseph to play the possum. And I don't bluff too often. Approaching Dio and I'll squash him. Promise I'm putting him back in his coffin. Saving the world, then saving the dolphins!
It's about to get crazy, dying. Just got here with a timing. The Joestars, yeah, you know who we are. Couldn't keep up even if you was a highway star. A real man has a pompadour. This, that, then I gotta beat your ass for sure. I'm not an explorer, but I was just thorough. My way through heaven's door. Get room to dies and rearrange your body. Wanna fight me, then go ahead and try me. No, not so low, but I will make you rock in your engine. Other day feeling phenomenal. Wanna get fixed on my skin, got the antidote. But don't get mixed up, cause I will break all your bones. Balls are red hot, they talking chili pepper. Tell all these feelings, they gotta do better.
You never had a chance to start with the illegitimate child of Dia. I'm a band of the class of prowess. Power's limitless. I kill Biggie Smalls, sacrifice my arm with which I give a fist to life before I kiss your wife. And this the time you try to fight the guy who defies all. Y'all better watch your back. Before my boys rock up to your house and rip attack to Gangstar, I am truly bizarre. When my theme comes on, you better rock a guitar. It's all over with my mood to leave you cold and hideous. Pissing on your grave, that's a golden experience. And everybody's out to get us. Passionate, we'll be killing them from Rome to Venice. It's evident, Diavolo gonna roll in his grave. When I put his ass to sleep, requiem for a train.
Coming in a sixth generation, facing all the incarceration. Didn't do the crime, but still I'm walking the line. Unravel the rabble, tie you up in a battle. Big or small, you're up against a stone wall. Place your bet to be falling, try not the plan to be plotted. Oh Father, please forgive me for the beat I'll be dropping. Like lightning on fire, bring you down like a fighter. Gotta keep it in the family or
All my life I've been cursed. Jesus help me start walking. Jesus, too determined to be first in this race. I don't have an option. You don't wanna tangle with a slow dancer. Drop kick 'em all with the top spin. All my enemies want their own damn hurts. Fingernails, put nails in the coffin. No one can't stand, but I gotta stand to lay you in the dirt. Spin the tables to turn. You wanna catch a saint's hand, break a leg, cause I'm sure you're about to find out how my steel balls work. Deal on the way of the dinosaurs, no way to defend. I'm going from Mach 1 to 4, don't delay your end. Valentine is trying to make America great again, but you with the last shot, take it to the head.
Who am I? Welcome to my struggle. Got one mind, but the body feels double. Searching my past, I don't want no trouble. Trust me, you don't wanna burst my bubble. Soft and wet, just know your scent, your sight, your sound. Call it pop music. Don't slip up when I'm around, cause I took the friction right out the ground. You wanna throw all your rocks at me, just cause I'm born this way. According to basic biology, my skills are better than yours, I'm afraid. That's why they call me Gappy, I'm on the top, while you're below. I'm singing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Sailing through life, don't rock the boat.
Ayo, hello, Fantastics. It's Mr. Clintastik, preparing to jump into a Duskmourn House of Horrors set review. If you enjoy my content, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps the channel to grow in the future. These evaluations are just going to be based off of my general experience and knowledge on previous um, draft sets and whatnot. So let's just dive right into it. First, we have Overlord of the Mistmoors, 7 mana, 5 generic, 2 white, enchantment creature, avatar horror, mythic. It has impending 4, which means for 2 generic and 2 white, if you cast a spell for its impending cost, it enters with 4 time counters and isn't a creature until the last is removed. At the beginning of your end step, remove a time counter from it. Whenever Lord of the Mistmoors enters or attacks, create 2/1 white insect creature tokens with flying. Okay, and it's a 6/6. I think this is really dope. It's 7 mana, so it's really expensive. Um, will I want to play this in limited? Is the question. You can play it for its impending cost, and it's for 4 mana. You're getting one white insect creature tokens with flying, which I think is excellent value. Um, in addition, it gets the 4 time counters on it. Well, yeah, it gets 4 time counters, and at the beginning of your end step in 4 turns, if the game goes that long, you get a giant 6/6 avatar horror. This just screams value to me. So yeah, I'll definitely play it. Is it first pickable? I think so, especially early in the season when you don't really know what is really going to be popping, what's going to dominate. A mythic that makes you 2/2/1 flying that becomes a 6/6 itself later in the game is just excellent value. All right, next we have Doll Maker's Shop and Porcelain Gallery. This is one of the rooms from the set. Rooms are like they have 2 sides to them, and you can. Well, I'll just read the card. Doll Maker Shop is 2 mana, 1 generic, and a white enchantment room. Whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, you create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. Now, it's an enchantment room. You may cast either half. The That door unlocks on the battlefield. As a sorcerer, you may pay the mana cost of a locked door to unlock it. Okay. Okay, I got you. I got you. You may cast either half. That door unlocks on the battlefield. As a sorcerer, you may pay the mana cost of a locked door to unlock it. So I'm guessing you can pay this. You can play this for 2, and then for 6 mana later in the game, unlock the other side, or you can play it for 6, and then whenever you feel like unlock the doll maker's shop. Um, and I guess if you have if you have 8 mana, you can do both of these. So once again, doll maker's shop. Whenever one or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. In the other half, porcelain gallery, 6 mana, 4 generic, 2 white. Creatures you control have base power and toughness, each equal to the number of creatures you control. Okay. Uh I don't know how I feel about this. I guess every turn is gonna basically like generate you some value if you play Doll Maker Shop. Swing in with your guy. You get a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. That's solid value, I suppose. I'm not gonna just reject it. The other side, creatures have base power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. So it has a way to generate tokens as well as a way to pump those said tokens. I kind of like it. By itself, it kind of does nothing, but with the right deck, it's gonna really be valuable. And rooms seem kind of cool, although they're kind of to me still kind of like double face cards. I guess they're not because both sides are active at the same time, or potentially. All right. Next, we have the Wandering Rescuer, 5 mana, 3 generic, 2 white, legendary creature, human, samurai, noble, mythic, has flash and convoke. Your creatures can help cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 generic or 1 mana of that creature's color. This has double strike, and as well as other tap creatures you control have hexproof. Wow. Okay, it's a 3/4. White's looking pretty stacked. That's great. Essentially, Sorry. Essentially, if you have 5 mana on the board, I mean 5 creatures, you're playing this for free to a certain degree if they're white creatures. Has double strike, and if you tap those creatures, for instance, you can tap those creatures in response to convoke this out, and it has flash, and all of a sudden, those tapped creatures now have hexproof. So it's kind of like a protection. This does a lot. Wow. I mean, I'm gonna be afraid. I'm gonna be afraid to target people's things in white because they could, potentially have this guy tap their thing now, get hexproof, and just fizzle my spell while progressing their board. So I'm gonna be on the lookout for the Wandering Rescuer. Next, we have Reluctant Role Model, two generic, 2 mana, one generic and a white creature, human survivor, rare. It has survival, which is a new keyword. At the beginning of your second main phase, if Reluctant Role Model is tapped, put a flying lifelink or 1/1 counter on it. Whenever Reluctant Role Model or another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters on up to one target creature. This is a 2/2. This is excellent. Wow. Okay. I mean, if it's tapped, so if you're able to either tap it for convoke, because I'm guessing we're going to see more convoke spells going on. If you tap it for convoke, or you swing in with it, you have what, 3 turns? Wait, no, no. This doesn't have a limitation. It's not like you can just put one counter of each type on it. You can put a flying counter on it, a life link counter on it, and then just start putting 1/1 counters on it to pump it. Or you can just start pumping it up with 1/1 counters until you need to give it flying or life link. I think this is excellent. It's rare, and which means you probably see it quite well significantly often. You're definitely going to want to run your early game removal for plays like this. And survival seems really cool. I like this spell a lot. I'm gonna see how strong it's gonna be, but I wouldn't say early pick it. All right. So the way I typically draft is I usually go for removal first, kind of see what the sets coming with, what the heat's looking like, and then modify accordingly. These last few sets, my thought processes on how to draft has just been, I don't know. I've been a little bit experimental in trying different ways to draft. So if I was going for something really aggressive and I knew like red white was where I was going to lean to with a card like Reluctant Role Model, I might first pick it just to make sure I have that particular piece. But if that could be wrong in a lot of cases, because for me, like I said, I typically like to draft removal. So we're going to see how this set plays out. This is going to be just my initial impressions of the cards as well. I'm going to draft the set probably the whole first week and then follow up with another, like, I don't know, follow up set review to see how things are kind of lining up. Next, we have Split Up. It's 3 mana, 1 generic, 2 white sorcery. You get to choose one, destroy all tapped creatures, or destroy all untapped creatures. It's a rare. So this is another instance where just my personal preference come into play. I'm starting to feel like if I'm in a situation where I'm having to wipe the board, like if my strategy isn't a control strategy straight up, I'm not wanting this. Say I'm wanting to do red white aggro. Red white aggro in Bloomborough was really strong. It still is. I would not want to first pick this card here because why would I want to do that while I'm progressing my board turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, trying to get ahead and whatnot. It's good if you are falling behind, but the goal is to not fall behind. I know perfect world, perfect scenarios. So split up for me, I would want to be in some kind of controlly. I'm convoking, giving hex proof, maybe like I don't know, maybe big boy white green. I need time to, ramp, draw, something like that. But for aggressive deck, this would not be my first pick. Honestly, I don't know what pick I would really want this. I've had like two or three times in the last few months where wiping the board has really been significant towards me. Next, we have Enduring Innocence. It's 3 mana, 1 generic, 2 white, enchantment creature, Sheep Glimmer, rare, lifelink, 2/1. Whenever one or more other creatures you control with power 2 or less enter, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. When Enduring Innocence dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield under its control if it is an enchantment. It's not a creature. 2/1. All right. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So when it's saying it's not a creature anymore, it's still just an enchantment, that ability still gets to trigger and benefit for you. I like this. It's a 2/1 life linker. The 2/1 is kind of the one is weak. And then for 3 mana, I'm having to play this 2/1 that doesn't do anything until the next turn. That's I'm not too hype about this. This is coming off fairly weak to me, something I would easily look over to choose something else. Toby, Beastie Befriender, 3 mana, 2 generic and a white, legendary creature, human wizard. When Toby Beastie Befriender enters, create a 4/4 white beast creature token with this creature can't attack or block alone. As long as you control 4 or more creature tokens you control have flying. It's a 1/1. 3 mana, 1/1. Base stats are, pretty tragic, but it comes in with the second body. So for 3 mana, you're getting 5 points of power. 3 mana, 5/5, spread across 2 bodies. There's some conditions on it. It can't attack or block alone, but I think that may be fine as long as you control 4 or more creature tokens. Creature tokens you control have flying. That seems pretty difficult to achieve. So overall, I feel like in most situations, you're gonna have this come out, make you a 4/4. They can't attack or block alone, so you're gonna have to have something else to swing in with. Where I think this really comes in is if you have a way to bounce. Like, because Toby Beastie Befriender, it creates a 4/4 white beast creature token, but it's not legendary. And that's something I've been seeing a lot where they just, make this legendary token type. But you can just bounce this, bounce this, bounce this. We're going to see if we see some of that. And I see this being a pretty powerful spell. Next, we have Leyline of Hope, 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 white, enchantment, rare. If Leyline of Hope is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead, as long as you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total. Creatures you control get 2/2. I feel like some big brains to play this well, but this wouldn't be something I first pick. Um, and I guess I need to consider like even sealed events as well, because sealed you play what you play, right? If I got this in sealed and I was able to accumulate some kind of life gain strat, I may run it. But I see so many instances where all of a sudden this is just a 4 mana didn't block for me, or 4 mana didn't remove something for me, or no utility when I need the utility. So I see myself kind of glancing over this card unless I have a really good, strong, dedicated life gain strategy in place. Next, we have Grand Entryway and Elegant Rotunda. Grand Entryway is 2 mana, 1 generic and a white, enchantment room. When you unlock this door, create a 1/1 white glimmer enchantment creature token. So it's a 2 mana 1/1. And then Elegant Rotunda, 3 mana, 2 generic and a white. When you unlock this door, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you can bounce these doors. Let me see. Um let's look at get some insight into these rooms. Room is a new enchantment subtype on split permanent cards. Each card has two halves called doors. When casting, choose one door to unlock. Pay the mana cost of the chosen. So we know all of these. Uh, both doors start locked. So if a room enters without being cast, it starts locked. Unlocked either door by paying its mana cost as a sorcery. Okay. Okay. So if I'm understanding this correctly, these doors, like, if you bounce them, it doesn't matter. They're gonna come back and they're still gonna be locked. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna rock with that understanding for now. So you can't bounce these rooms and then like have them come back unlocked and get the value. You have to pay the cost. That's interesting. We're gonna see how that plays out. Um, 2 mana, 1/1 enchantment token, and for 3 mana, you can put a 1/1 counter on each of up to two target creatures. I mean, there's still bounce benefit to this, right? Because say you unlock it for 5, you bounce it back for however you do it. I don't know, but you can pay 5 again and get the ability again. So if you have some kind of recursive way to bounce, like I was saying with the other guy earlier, if there's a way to bounce these things, you might get some value. It's not as good as just gaining the value off cuff, but it's an option, especially if we have to go into late game sessions. Hey Samaj, thank you for pulling up from YouTube. Hope you're doing well. Just going over some of the white cards from Duskmourn, House of Horrors. All right. Next, we have Optimistic Scavenger. It's a white spell, just 1 mana. Creature Human Scout with Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It's a 1/1. Man, and it's uncommon. So it's a 1 mana 1/1 with a new keyword on there, Eerie. So far I'm not necessarily feeling like rooms are going to just be the dominant staple in Duskmore Unlimited. I'm just going to have to see. They look pretty expensive overall. So we'll see momentarily. So with that being said, Optimistic Scavenger is not looking that great to me. Uh, All right. Next is Angst Bor Unthrung. Oh, this is not in English. There we go. So this is Fear of Abduction. It is 6 mana, 4 generic, and 2 white. Enchantment creature, Nightmare. As an additional cost to cast a spell, exile a creature you control. It has flying. Whenever Fear of Abduction enters, exile target creature and opponent controls. When Fear of Abduction leaves the battlefield, return each card exiled with it to their owner's hands. Okay. Uh, I don't, bruh, it's a 5/5. So this rubs me the wrong way. It does things, but I have to spend a lot of things to do it. So I have to exile a creature I control to exile one of their things. And then if this thing dies, they get the thing back. I don't like any of these things I'm saying about this card. Now, granted, I think some people are gonna play it and play it well. And that's why I say it rubs me the wrong way. Just because I don't necessarily play it well, don't mean that other people won't play it well. So I think we're going to see a lot of this fear of abduction in limited, especially if white is strong. I just hope it's not like staple type situations. Next, we have Lionheart Glimmer, 5 mana, 3 generic, 2 white, enchantment creature, Cat Glimmer, uncommon. It has Ward 2. We all know about Ward by now. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. Whenever you attack, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. It is a 2/5. Meh. This is just meh. I need to start. I'm gonna give them letter or number scores. I think after the first week, this is kind of my initial impressions right now. See how I feel about them. And this isn't too good to me. It's a 5 mana 2/5. You're gonna slow down the opponent for sure on the ground, but otherwise, I'm not picking this heavy first off. Next, we have Split Skin Doll, 2 mana, 1 generic and a white artifact creature toy. Uncommon. When Split Skin Doll enters, draw a card, then discard a card unless you control another creature with power 2 or less. It's a 2/1. Oh. Oh. So I like this. I like this a lot. You'll see in a lot of limited formats, some artifact or something that'll be like, oh, well, you get to play this and you get to put a land on the top of your library. So the next turn you find a land. Cool. Or you'll get in black like a 3 mana. When you play this card, you draw a card and lose a life or something like that. I like this a lot because, I mean, if you play a 1 mana card, you play this on turn 2, boom, you are just immediately getting some value. 2/1 isn't the best stats. The 1 really isn't the best. If it was a 2/2, it'd be even better. But this is one of those, if you're able to bounce type situations, you're happy because you're just constantly getting value. I can see people churning through decks with things like this to get their strategy going. Not saying I would first pick it, but I definitely would play it. I like that a lot. Orphans of the Wheat, 2 mana, 1 generic and a white, creature human uncommon. When Orphans of the Wheat attacks, tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Orphans of the Wheat get +1/+1 until end of turn. For each creature tapped this way, it's a 2/1. Okay. Tap any number of untapped creatures. Yeah, but man, slap some flying on this, man. Slap some first strike on this bad boy. You know, like give it something. Give it two toughness. Do anything for this card to make it a tad better. The creatures you're tapping down have to be untapped. You might want to be getting a big board out. I don't know. I don't know. Because so say for instance you do swing in and you tap down 3 of your boys, right? Now you swing in with 1 guy but lost 3 blockers, or 4 effectively. I don't like this. I think it's pretty weak. We shall be seeing. Next, we have Savior of the Small, 4 mana, 3 generic, and a white creature core survivor. It's an uncommon. It has survival. Guess there's going to be a lot of survivors. Survival at the beginning of your second main phase. If Savior of the Small is tapped, return target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Ah, I like now. And it's a 3/4. This is pretty solid. It has some recursive energy going on because if this is tapped for whatever reason, you know, say you do tap it with your Orphan of the Wheat, or you tap it just by attacking in, you're going to get something back from the yard, and it's going to make your attacks really sneaky. We just need good combat tricks. At this point, my boy Samaj, I'm sure he knows all about having them good combat tricks, making it more likely for us to want to swing in to get that value and recur those creatures. Savior the Small seems really good. I think we're going to see a lot of that on the battlefield. Next, we have Ethereal Armor, 1 white mana, enchantment aura, uncommon, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. First strike's pretty dangerous. First strike is nothing to play with. I believe this is a reprint. And depending, because I mean, there's several creatures we've seen already that are enchantment creatures. This could get out of control real quick. Now, I wish this had flash, you know, but we'll see how evasive our creatures can be and how relevant that first strike is going to be. I think that's really the kicker. So he comes down, gives 1/1 and first strike immediately. That is solid. Next, we have Shard Mage's Rescue, 1 white mana, enchantment aura, uncommon. Now, this has flash. That's what I'm saying with the last card, Ethereal Armor. Flash really would have helped it out. Enchant creature you control. As long as Shard Mage's Rescued enter this turn, enchanted creature has hex proof. Oof, solid. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. So I see, I see. I like that it has flash. I like that it can give hex proof, and it still pumps. Not too bad. I- Depending on my build, I would probably play it before I played the armor because it gives that extra potential hexproof buff. Although armor can kind of go out of control with the number of enchantments that you have. Well, that's creepy. Patched Plaything, 3 mana, 2 generic and a white artifact creature toy, uncommon. It has double strike. Patched Plaything enters with -1, -1 count, two -1, -1 counters on it if you cast it from your hand. It's a 4/3. Huh. So, so you want to recur it from the graveyard, is what they're suggesting. Because if you play it for 3, it's going to come in as a 2/1. That's just bad. A 2/1 with double strike though. Why are they giving 1 toughness to everything? They're giving 1 toughness to like everything. I like it. I don't know how to place it just yet. Because, like I said, if you can get this from the yard or something, I think that's really the only way you can play it without casting it. We'll just have to see. But a 3 mana 2/1 double striker on the ground, I don't think is that exciting. I feel like there's just so many ways I would destroy it, like and not even care. But that's me. I wouldn't be afraid of it, although the art is pretty scary. Next, we have Glimmer Seeker, 3 mana, 2 generic and a white creature, human survivor, uncommon. It has survival. At the beginning of your second main phase, if Glimmer Seeker is tapped, draw a card if you control a Glimmer creature. What? If you don't control a Glimmer creature, create a 1/1 white Glimmer enchantment creature token. It's a 3/3. All right, this is solid. 3 mana, 3/3. Great stats. You start swinging in with it the next turn. If it doesn't have the condition met, it meets the condition. And once it starts meeting the condition, it starts drawing you cards. And if you happen to lose your white Glimmer enchantment creature token, you just generate another one. I love this. You have multiples of these, you are getting some value. You're drawing either you're drawing multiple cards a turn, or you're at least getting the 1 white Glimmer enchantment. Honestly, I think these would trigger at the same time. Say you have 2 on the board with no Glimmer creature. They both go in the stack to generate a Glimmer creature to fulfill the condition. I love this. I think people, I know I would run it to see if I can make it, not make it work, it just works. You just got to attack in. I still think we need some good pump spells to make that possible. Not even really seeing great removal in white yet. Next, we have Veteran Survivor, a white mana creature, human survivor, uncommon, with survival. At the beginning of your second main phase, if the Veteran Survivor is tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. As long as there are 3 or more cards exiled with Veteran Survivor, it gets +3/+3 and has hexproof. It's a 2/1. It can keep graveyards empty, which is solid. Uh, yeah, yeah. You know what? This is actually pretty good. Because the thing is, it doesn't have to be tapped for that ability to happen. Because as long as there are, wait, no, it does have to be tapped. Okay, so because you got to exile the cards with the survivor, it can't just be exiled cards. Hmm. Hopefully, we have some good convoke so that these survivors do well. but he's just a 1 mana 2/1. If he gets going, you exile 3 cards. He's all of a sudden a 5/4, which is very good. But he can't just come down as a 5/4. You have to make the investment of tapping him. I don't know how I feel about this. You can play him early. This might be too much investment, actually, to really get it going, unless you're just wanting a 1 mana 2/1. Because I think that's what he's going to end up being at the end of the day. Next, we have Unwanted Remake. 1 white mana instant uncommon. Destroy target creature. Its controller manifests dread. I think that's kind of a new phrase here. That player looks at the top 2 cards of their library, then puts one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature and the other into their graveyard. If it's a creature card, it can be turned face up at any time for its mana cost. This is this is cool. Um, this is it's scary. I don't want to manifest. I don't want to destroy your thing and give you anything. That's just bottom line. I don't care if it's free. Like this could be 0 mana. I don't want to do it because I can. You're gonna look at those cards. You're gonna get some card selection opportunity because you get to put the other in the graveyard, right? So say it's a mana you want to get out the way. Boom, I'm helping you out already. I destroyed a threat that needed to leave, and in response, you get some card selection, and you get to put a body on the board that's potentially stronger than the threat that I already took out, and I have no information on my side of the board. Jesus, I don't like it. I don't like it. I know in MTG it's all about RNG and X, Y, and Z and how you build your deck, and I know people are gonna play this, but I think it's gonna be more for my advantage because unless I just see it start blowing out games, I don't think I'm gonna care. If you need your removal, there's a piece for you, but sheesh, there's a lot of fine print going on right there. Next, we have Hardened Escort, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a white creature, human soldier, common. When it attacks, another target creature you control gets 1/0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. It's a 2/4. 3 mana, 2/4 with no evasion that potentially gives indestructible. Just to me, just screams 3 mana, 2/4. That's it. Not exciting at all. Next, we have Friendly Ghost. 4 mana, 3 generic, and a white creature, spirit, common. Has flying. When it enters, target creature gets +2/+4 until end of turn. It's a 2/4. Yeah, I get that with the going. I think we're going back to the Hardened Escort. Somebody says it can help trigger tap abilities. You're right, but you got to have the other creature on board for sure. And then this it leaves this vulnerable. So I paid 3 mana for a 2/4 that I got to swing in to get the value that gives value to something else, but still leaves the 2/4 vulnerable. That's kind of my concern. Now, if you get multiple of these, I guess, and they're both swinging in at the same time, they're going to be 3/4 indestructible boys. I could see that being a possibility. All right, going back to Friendly Ghost. Has flying, ETBs, target creature gets +2/+4 until end of turn. It's a 2/4. 4 mana, 2/4 flyer. Can be good. Kind of wish it had vigilance. Or maybe or survivor. If I don't know, you couldn't because it's a second main phase deal. But just 2/4 for one turn, it's okay. It's okay. Fear of Surveillance. That's 2 mana, 1 generic, and a white enchantment creature, nightmare. Common Vigilance. Whenever Fear of Surveillance attacks, surveil 1. It's a 2/2. I like this 2 mana 2/2 with Vigilance. It's an enchantment creature that's going to fulfill several conditions, and you get to surveil with it. What? What do you mean? Yeah, this is awesome. Give me a bunch of these. Give me a bunch of ethereal armors. Man, I'm in business. I mean, I think this is a solid card, especially to be common. Just to be a common play. Boom. Love it. Vigilance is really strong and limited. I've been undervaluing vigilance for a minute, but now I'm like, okay, I really see how strong it could be. If this would have had vigilance tacked on it, oh man, I've been all right. You might want to grab this boy. Next, we have Emerge from the Cocoon, 5 mana for generic and a white sorcery common. You can return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain 3 life. As I mentioned with that horror toy earlier, that's pretty much the patch play thing. Bringing it from the graveyard is really where you're going to see your value. And if you're able to surveil, so say you surveil this into the yard using your fear of surveillance, and then you emerge from the cocoon as soon as possible, turn 5 in white, you know, all of a sudden you have a 4/3 double striking plaything. It's pretty strong. Now, even with double strike, that's although it is strong, I found that adding trample or something to it makes it even better, or giving it flying. Like I hate having double strike where I can potentially do all this damage for it to get blocked by the mightiest of 1/1s or even a 0/1. Like it's just bink. So I would keep that in mind when trying to piece that together. Next, we have Unsettling Twins, 4 mana, 3 generic and a white. Creature human, common. When it enters, manifest dread. It's a 2/2. I like it. Another common card, but I think for the most part, it gives you card selection and it generates a creature that potentially can be a more powerful creature. That was heavy cost. A 4 mana 2/2 is not something you're just overly excited to have, but I really like this manifest dread ability when I'm able to do it. I'm not happy when my opponents are able to do it. I think it's just too much value. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm overestimating that. Next, we have Cult Leader, 3 mana, 2 generic and a white. Creature, human doctor, common. It has Eerie whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room. Cult Healer gains lifelink until end of turn. It's 3/3. So a 3 mana, 3/3 that if, when you unlock a room or whenever you play an enchantment or want ETBs, it gets lifelink. They could have just gave it lifelink. You feel like it's just a 3 mana, 3/3 without anything else going on. Once again, solid, beefy boy. But if you're gonna really give it some value, give it vigilance, give it something. Like this seems like so much. I have to do so much to make this shine rather than it just doing its thing. Next, we have Trapped in the Screen, 3 mana, 2 generic and a white. Enchantment, common. Ward 2, whenever this enchantment becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 2. When Trapped in the Screen enters, exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment an opponent controls until Trapped in the Screen leaves battlefield. I, these cards are okay. And it does have Ward 2. That's important. We'll just have to see how easy it is to just destroy things like this. I typically like to just blow things up or exile like for good, not necessarily play things that exile things until this thing leaves the battlefield. But you have to work at what you have. And so far we haven't seen a lot of solid removal in white, so this may be something you want to pick up fairly early. Next, we have Acrobatic Cheerleader, 2 mana, 1 generic and a white. Creature, human survivor, common. Survival. At the beginning of your second main phase, if Acrobatic Cheerleader is tapped, put a flying counter on it. This ability triggers only once. It's a 2/2. So a 2/2 that can potentially be a permanent 2/2 flyer is solid. I would much rather have a 2/2 flyer than a 3 mana 2/2 flyer. Hmm, hmm. And then say, for instance, once again, if you're able to convoke or tap this down for another reason, it's just easier to put that flying counter on it. I like it. Think it's easy to play. Next, we have Shepherding Spirits, 6 mana for generic 2 white, creature spirit common. Flying, it has plane cycling, and it's a 4/5. I'll probably run this in every white deck I play. What do you mean? I can plane cycle, get a land when I need it. I saw one recursive spell or bring back from the graveyard spell. That's solid. I don't know. If I pair this with black, might have other ways to get things from the yard or even green. I like this. I think it's going to be seen a lot. 4/5 isn't bad stats either. So, boom. Next, we have Fear of Immobility, 5 mana for generic and a white. Enchantment creature, Nightmare common. When Fear of Immobility enters, tap up to one target creature. If an opponent controls that creature, put a stun counter on it. It's a 4/4. Okay. 5 mana 4/4 that stuns enchantment creature nightmare. It's okay. It needs some help, you know. Um, I mean, honestly, I wish it kind of had the exile until this leaves the battlefield on it instead. I think that would be great right here. White could really use it, and White did not get a lot of removal. Look at it. What do we get? To be honest, we got trapped in the screen, and we got the 1 mana spell, the unwanted remake. Man, we are strapped in White for any kind of playable removal. And we had the other guy, Angst. I forget what this was. Fear of Abduction. And it's uncommon, but man, that's 6 mana. That's tough. That is tough. So yeah, those are all the white spells. Overall, I like some of the cards in white. Like the common card that 2/2 that can get flying. I think trapped in the screen is gonna be highly valuable. I like Fear of Surveillance. I even think Unwanted Remake's gonna see some play. It seems like they really want us getting our creatures to the board. They're offering this as a solution to any threats. Sheesh. White's probably gonna need a lot of help to make it playable. And the Flyers didn't even seem too impressive. So we'll just have to see. All right. I'm gonna go straight into blue here. First, we have Overlord of the Flood Pits, 5 mana, 3 generic, 2 blue, enchantment creature, avatar horror, mythic. Has impending 4. You can pay a generic and 2 blue if you cast this for its impending cost. It enters with 4 time counters and isn't a creature until the last is removed. At the beginning of your end step, remove a time counter from it. Has flying. Whenever Overlord of the Flood Pits enters or attacks, you draw 2 cards, discard a card, and it's 5/3. Pretty solid. uh, so you can play this for 3. You're gonna get an enchantment to the board, so that can be relevant for some strategies. And then for a turn later, it becomes a flying 4/3. I mean 5/3. And when you play it, it draws you 2 cards, discards your card. This is okay. I mean, well, no, I guess it's more than okay. It's a 5 mana 5/3 flyer that draws you 2 cards, discards your card. That's not bad. It's not bad. Could have used Ward, right? Ward would have been great. First pickable, I guess. Like I said, a lot of these mythics are probably going to be first pickable early in the set. We're gonna want to see how they play, how good they are. A 5 mana 5/3 that draws you 2, discards you 1. Um, every time when it enters and attacks is actually a lot of card value. and it's probably gonna be stupid strong. Next we have Mirror Room and Fractured Realm. It's a enchantment room. Mirror Room is 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue. When you unlock this door, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it's a reflection in addition to its other creature types. Fractured Realm, 7 mana, 5 generic, 2 blue. If a triggered ability of a permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. This is a prime example of what I was just talking about. Of, I guess, needing some help or something earlier. Anyway, you can use Mirror Room to essentially make a copy of your Overlord. You play Overlord and then copy it. What? That's pretty dope. Both of these are mythics, but I think that's a really cool ability. And then say you do happen to unlock Fractured Realm, God forbid, you're drawing 4 cards, discarding 2 every turn. Man, if you don't win that game, I don't know what to tell you. That's really good back-to-back spells right there in blue. And I mean, you don't have to just be in blue. Say you're, playing whatever color. Say you're playing Big Green Boy somewhere. For 3 mana, boom, copy this. What? Yes. Copy spells are, I love copying my creatures because if I wanted to play it in the first place, there's a strong chance I want another copy of it and I may not have access to that. So having a card that just does it is excellent. And it copies any creature. You got to pay attention to the legendary rule, but other than that, you're solid. I really like that more than I like the Dollmaker Shop Porcelain Gallery combo. Next, we have Abhorrent Oculus, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue. Creature Eye Mythic. That art is really cool. As an additional cost to cast a spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard. As flying at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Manifest Dread. It's a 5/5. Jesus. Think you're not going to see this in some Commander games. I know this is a limited set review, but my goodness. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Manifest Dread. So you play this for 3. Granted, you're not going to be able to play it on turn 3 unless you have a really good way to get 6 cards in your yard. But this is a flying 5/5 that gives even more value over time. I like it. Blue looking stacked hotcakes. Jesus, that's really good. This is going to, in limited, I think this is going to just be a beatdown. Someone's going to, oh, yeah, here we go. Play this 5/5. You ain't got a way to kill it. Oh, man. I'm going to just start putting 2/2s on the board every turn. Huh? Just, yeah, 2/2. Oh, those 2/2s, you don't know what they are. You don't need to know what they are until I tell you. Tuh. Kill on sight. Kill on sight. Because the worst thing you would want to see, blue is looking so strong right now. You don't want someone to mirror room either one of these cards, Overlord of the Flood Pits or Oculus. You just don't want it. But will the format be slow enough to make these things happen? That's the question. The Tale of Tamio, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue. As this saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice after number 4. So the first 3 chapters state mill 2 cards. If 2 cards that share a card type were milled this way, draw a card and repeat the process. Then the 4th chapter, exile any number of target instant sorcery and or Tamio Planeswalker cards from your graveyard, copy them. You may cast any number of the copies. Solid. I don't like to mill. So you're not going to hear me ever say, ooh, I love this mill card. It's not going to happen. If you like the mill card, you can put mill in the chat. I don't like it. I probably won't be choosing this card in a lot of situations. And even the build-up isn't that great to me because, what if I don't even have the instants and sorceries in my yard to get the value off of this? Blue came off cooking. Then Tale of Tamio, meh. Next, we have the Mind Flayer. It's 3 blue mana, legendary enchantment creature Nightmare. It can't be blocked. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage and each opponent mills that many cards. What? Bruh. What? They done lost their mind. They have lost their they've lost their mind. This doesn't have the condition of anything. This just says for 3 blue mana, you get an unblockable 10-1. And if you would deal any damage to the opponent, a source you control deals damage to an opponent, prevent that damage. And each opponent, what just happened? Each opponent mills 2 cards. Ugh. Did it just reorganize things? Let's go back here. I got too excited. I hit my keyboard. Jesus. Am I tripping here? Because I'm gonna play this. Like this is first pickable. Like I haven't really talked about a lot of just straight up first pickables. This is first pickable. This is 3 mana 10-1 that just starts milling the opponent away. It's easily blocked. Give it trample. No, you can't. Wait. It's not easily blocked. No, because it can't be blocked. Oh man. Ooh wee. I don't want to deal with that. I don't. I don't want to. I don't want to see it on the other side of the table ever. I'm gonna be so hurt by the Mind Flayer. Now, if I'm playing it, I'm gonna be super happy. And if I'm playing it and I'm able to copy it, how do you even come back with 20 cards milled? That I think that's an issue in limited. If you milling yourself, if your opponent happens to assist you with some mill, you may just deck yourself out unintentionally and lose some really good value. But yeah, ooh, that's hype. I like that. Next, we have Silent Hall Creeper, 2 mana, 1 generic and a white, enchantment creature horror, rare. Silent Hall Creeper can't be blocked. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Put 2/1/1 counters on it, draw a card, and it becomes a copy of another target creature you control. Man, bruh. Oh no. Wizards. This is disrespectful. This is absolutely disrespectful. You're telling me with my two mana, I'm gonna get a 1/1 that can't be blocked. Solid. I swing in, I can put 2/1/1 counters on it. So after that, so after I swing in the first time, it's a 3/3 unblockable creature. Oh, that's already good enough. The next turn, it's a 3/3 unblockable creature that draws me a card. Or or if I happen to play something, say I have a 5/5 on the board, I can have it become a 5/5 with 2/1/1 counters on it, and it's unblockable. Oh, why are they doing this? What is happening here? Marina's Marina Vendrill's Grimoire, 6 mana, 5 generic, and a blue legendary artifact, rare. When Marina Vendrill's Grimoire enters, if you cast it, draw 5 cards. You have no maximum hand size, and you don't lose the game for having 0 life or less. Whenever you gain life, draw that many cards. Okay. Whenever you lose life, discard that many cards, and then if you have no cards in hand, you lose the game. Jesus. Okay. Okay, they put some drawbacks on it at the very least. Hmm. 6 mana that draws you 5 cards. Jesus Christ. No maximum hand size. And you don't lose the game for having 0 life. Whenever you gain life, you draw that many cards. So you can still mill yourself out. That is not something that's unavoidable. Whenever you lose life, you have to discard that many. This looked great at first. On paper, it seems good until that last little part when you lose life, discard that many cards. Then if you have no cards in hand, you lose the game. It's too coin flippy for me. I'm not trying to make it work. I just want it to work. Next, we have Central Elevator and Promising Stairs. I love that flavor. I love that flavor. It's an enchantment room. Central Elevator states, well, Central Elevator, 4 mana, 3 generic, and a blue. When you unlock this door, search your library for a room card that doesn't have the same name as a room you control. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. The other side is Promising Stairs, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. You win the game if there are 8 or more different names among unlocked doors of rooms you control. Who's really trying to put together a room deck? In limited, especially. I'm not gonna do this. So, well, 4 rooms is essentially 8 doors, but that's a lot of mana, right? So this one's already 7 mana right here to have both of those abilities. I would have to sink at least that much into another card, at least to win the game. This is really expensive. If a big brain pulls this off against me in limited, I'm gonna be so frustrated. Because how? How did he do it? Or she, they, them. How did they do it? Uh-oh. All right. Leyline of Transformation. 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 blue. Enchantment. If Leyline of Transformation is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. As Leyline of Transformation enters, choose a creature type. Creatures you control that are the chosen type in a creature you control are the chosen type in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So that's just a way to get all your creatures to be the same type for probably some Anthem deck or something. I'm not gonna be gunning for it in limited unless I see a strat that's, suggestive of that, of needing to do it. But I don't see it so far. Hmm. Next, we have Enduring Curiosity. 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 blue, enchantment creature Cat Glimmer with Flash. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay. What? When it dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's an enchantment. And it's a 4/3 itself. So a 4/3 with Flash that draws me cards from my other creature's attacks and then comes back as an enchantment if it dies itself. So I want to swing in with it regardless. Yeah, give me that. I'll take that all day. Blue is looking wonderful. Man, it's looking a lot better than white to me. Maybe that's just initial impressions. Sheesh. Mm. Next, we have Fear of Falling, 5 mana, 3 generic, 2 blue, enchantment creature, Nightmare, uncommon, has flying. Whenever Fear of Falling attacks, target creature defending player controls get negative 2/0 and loses flying until your next turn. It's a 4/4. Ha, that's blue is just looking really, really, really disrespectful right now. It's milling people's cards. It's taking their flying away. What is making copies of your best things? It's unblockable. It's drawing you cards. Like, sheesh. Sheesh. Next, we have Cursed Windbreaker, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue artifact equipment, uncommon. When it enters, manifest dread, then attach Cursed Windbreaker to that creature. The creature has flying, it's a 3, it's a equip 3. I'm telling you, if I see a 1 mana blue spell that bounces things, done. Granted, you have to bounce the actual artifact. That'll probably be more difficult than just bouncing a creature. But this looks really good to me. The other one, Cryptic Code, I think was the one I saw that was the best because it had a way to bounce itself back to him, which I think was really good. Next, we have Flood Pit's Drowner. 2 mana, 1 generic and a blue. Creature merfolk. Uncommon. Flash Vigilance. When it enters, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. You can pay 2 mana, a generic and a blue. Tap. Shuffle Flood Pit's Drowner and a target creature with a stun counter on it into their owner's libraries. Har, 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 har. This is rude. Blue, stop it. Stop it. I get to tap their thing and then I can shuffle it into their library. Okay, say less. It's not necessarily removal, but it is. Next, we have Bottomless Pool and Locker Room. Bottomless Pool is 1 blue enchantment room. When you unlock this door, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. That's the best room I've seen all day. I will play this room off that merit alone. Would have been great to be instant, like you said, Flash Room. Ooh, even better. Beggars can't be choosers. So for 1 mana, bounce 1 creature back to hand. Then 5 mana, Locker Room. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Both of those sides are solid. Next, we have Ghostly Key Bearer. 4 mana, 3 generic, and a blue. Creature Spirit, uncommon, flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, unlock a locked door of up to 1 target room you control. 3/3. Flying 3/3 that unlocks rooms for free. That's all. That's all the rooms needed. Was a way to be unlocked for free for them to become even better. Sheesh. Next, we have Fear of Imposters. 3 mana, a generic, 2 blue. Enchantment creature, Nightmare, uncommon, flash. When it enters, counter target spell, its controller manifests dread. It's a 3/2. Bro. I just don't know what to say. I really don't. We're countering their spells with creatures now. So for the most part, I don't like to run counter spells in limited because it's like I'm always in a position where I feel like I don't have it at the right time. This is a flash 3/2 first off, so even if I don't counter with it, I'm not too upset. Granted, I said earlier when talking about the 1 mana destroy creature, they manifest dread, how I didn't like that. I'm cool with this one because it puts a creature to the board. So although they manifest, I instantly have a creature to block with. Ugh. Or start attacking with in response. I like Fear of Imposters a lot. I'm liking blue all around. Next, we have Stay Hidden, Stay Silent. 2 mana, 1 generic, and a blue. Enchantment Aura, uncommon, enchant creature. When Stay Hidden, Stay Silent enters, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. You can pay 6 for generic to blue, shuffle enchanted creature into its owner's library, then manifest dread. Activate only as a sorcerer. Blue, I can't take no more. You're getting a creature out the way. I can shuffle that back into the library. Then I manifest dread. I'm playing blue this season. I guess maybe blue's been getting a bad rap in limited recently because it's blue, but these spells seem very pushed so far in comparison to white, especially. Next, we have Unwilling Vessel, 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue. Creature wizard uncommon. Vigilance with Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock your room, put a possession counter on Unwilling Vessel. When an Unwilling Vessel dies, create an XX blue spirit creature token with flying, where X is the number of counters on Unwilling Vessel. It's a 3/2. Okay. I mean, one thing I will say, they could have printed this card and not gave it all that text and left Vigilant off, and it would be so much worse for it. But since it does have Vigilant, it's a 3 mana 3/2 Vigilance, if nothing else. And then it gets value over time, and then when it dies, it definitely gives you mad value. So I like it. Not as exciting as the rest of the cards, but it's still up there. Next, we have Fear of Failed Tests, 5 mana, 4 generic, and a blue enchantment creature Nightmare. When Fear of Failed Tests deal combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. It's a 2/7. A 5 mana 2/7. They're gonna have to get this off the board because they're not gonna be able to attack in. If they have something that's swinging past 7, you're just gonna want to remove it anyways. Other than that, they're just attacking into a 2/7. They're not gonna be happy. Next, we have Fear of Isolation, 2 mana, 1 generic, and a blue enchantment creature nightmare, uncommon. As an additional cost to cast this spell, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. Flying, it's a 2/3. 2 mana, 2/3, bounces something. Hopefully, it's something that I can recur or reuse for value. Next, we have Scrabbling Skull Crab, 1 blue creature crab skeleton, uncommon, has Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, target player mills 2 cards. 0/3. Think I'm not trying to mill my opponent. Jeez. Next, we have Unable to Scream, 1 blue enchantment aura, common, enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a toy artifact creature with base power and toughness 0/2 in addition to its other types. As long as the enchanted creature is face down, it can't be turned face up. This is some control statements. They're just like, yeah, you're not doing anything. Vanish from sight, 4 mana, 3 generic and a blue, instant. Target non-land permanent. No, target non-land permanent's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Surveil 1. Okay. We've seen this a lot. And we get to Surveil 1 with it. 4 mana instant. Not overpowered, but it does enough. 1 copy is always okay. Next, we have Erratic Apparition. 3 mana, 2 generic, and a blue flying vigilant creature spirit. Common. Has Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters and whenever you fully unlock a room, Erratic Apparition gets 1/1 until end of turn. That's kind of weak, right? You have to continuously open rooms or play enchantments to only get 1/1 to the end of turn. 3 mana, 1/3 vigilant isn't bad if you're going to put counters on it, but otherwise, 1/1 every now and then on that isn't too exciting. Next, we have Glimmer Burst, 4 mana. Uh-oh. Instant, common, draw 2 cards, create a 1/1 Glimmer enchantment creature token. 4 mana to draw 2 cards and make 1 token seems kind of meh. Next, we have Dagger Maw Megalodon. 6 mana, 4 generic, 2 blue, creature shark, common, vigilant, island psychic, 5/7. Do I need to say more? Some of these cards are just saying everything for me. I'm gonna play this in every single blue deck. Right now, I'm leaning towards mono blue. I'll let y'all know if something else really captures me after I go over the rest of the cards. But blue is beating white out by a country mile. Next, we have Creeping Peeper. 2 mana, 1 generic and a blue creature eye common. You tap it, add 1 mana, 1 blue mana, spend only to cast an enchantment spell or unlock a door or turn a permanent face up. This does a lot. And if you're manifest dreading, okay. Not first pickable by any means, but it's offering the support I think you'll want in this color. Next, we have Clammy Prowler, 4 mana, 3 generic and a blue enchantment horror common. When Clammy Prowler attacks, another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. It's a 2/5. That's okay. Next, we have Twist Reality, 3 mana, 1 generic, 2 blue. Instant, common, choose 1, counter target spell, or you can manifest Dread. Kind of weak. I mean, so once again, going into me not liking to play counters that aren't just counters that do other things, I like a lot. They have multiple options, so I'm not sitting there holding up my counter and then you do nothing and I'm upset. So instead of doing nothing, I get to manifest dread, and I look at it as kind of like a card draw, card selection situation where you put in hopefully something you didn't want in the yard and something you do want onto the battlefield that you can get value for later. So Twist Reality might actually be pretty good, especially if mono blue is a thing. Next, we have Tunnel Surveyor, 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue, creature, human, detective, common. When it enters, create a 1/1 Glimmer enchantment creature token. It's a 2/2. Okay. Meh. Stalked Researcher, 2 mana, 1 generic, and a blue. Creature, human wizard, common, defender with Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, Stalked Researcher can attack this turn as though it didn't have defender. It's a 3/3. This could be solid. Are those glimmers enchantments? Yeah. You run a few of these and you start beating in with a 2 mana 3. A 2 mana 3/3 is so much better than a 3 mana 3/3. It's ridiculous. Just like a 1 mana 2/1 is better than a 2 mana 2/2 to a certain degree. Next we have Piranha Fly, 2 mana, 1 generic and a blue. Creature, fish, insect, common. Flying, enters tap, 2/1. Solid. I'll take it. I'll take it. Blue looks really, really good, especially in comparison to the white spells we saw earlier. Okay, that is going to wrap it up for now on the card review. I just wanted to get an initial impression going, and I've talked a lot. So I'm going to wrap up now. Let's change the title. I'm going to go to Arena, and I'm going to do a draft. We'll see if we get the whole thing done or not. Yeah, Bloomburrow's still up. I'll get back to the set review probably either this evening or tomorrow. I'm gonna start the stream over simply so I can get a new video started. Heyo.